bunch of questions about how do I get into this, and there's two ways you can go. You can fly a single-seater, which is called Part 103 in the FAA regulations, that it cannot exceed the weight limit of 254 pounds, and you don't need no airman certificate, you don't need any registration or annual inspection, and basically if you're flying by yourself with no passengers, they don't really care if you get training or not. But if you want to fly a passenger, you need a minimum of a sport pilot airman certificate. And that's relatively easy. At first people seem to think it gets a little overwhelming, but you need 10 hours of dual training, 2 hours of solo training, 1 hour cross-country flight training, and then 1 cross-country flight of a straight leg of the flight, 15 miles or greater. That being said, what we do is we do a, whether it's a single-seater or a two-seater, we begin with a pre-flight inspection. And what I have is, I've already done it this morning. I have a checklist. I start right at the front of the aircraft. I go completely around the aircraft, inspecting all nuts, bolts, any frays, cracks, or damage to anything. And then we check all the components of the engine, the gearbox, propeller. And then once that has been checked out, then we go and we start the aircraft and we do a run-up. And we warm it up to a certain temperature, and then we do a mag check. We have dual mags, so we make sure each mag is working, and then we have a boost pump for backup for fuel redundancy. We check that. But now that's been said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the wing out. And again, there's multiple ways you can lay out a wing, and I have this one way that I do, and it gives me a bunch of times to go around and check the chute. And as I'm laying out the wing, I'm checking for any frays, tears, rips, or any defects or anything, problems that might be in the chute. Another first common question I get asked is, what happens if the engine dies? And then it's simple. All we are is parachuting in a nice comfortable chair, and if you fly the way I teach you, you'll never have a problem landing without an engine. It's a non-event. And I always fly over stuff that I cannot land on. I have enough altitude that I can glide to a safe landing field, and I will demonstrate an engine out landing this morning. And like I said, it's a non-event if you fly the way you're properly trained. So now I'm going to go and I'm going to lay out the wing. Come to this side here. This is called the halo bar. This is the attachment point. We have quick links that hook the riser. We have 2 risers on each side, an A riser and a B riser. And on the front of the A riser, we have the A and B suspension lines hooked to the riser. And then we have the C, D, and E lines on the B riser. So what I do is I start here. We have quick links that attaches the riser to the aircraft. And we're checking to make sure there's no thread showing, there's no cracks or any damage to the quick links. And these are good. And we have also quick links here. And we're checking to make sure no threads, all the lines. And as I'm inspecting this, as I'm going around, I'm looking at the lines, I'm looking at the chute, see if there's any tears, frayed stitching, or any defects in the chute. And this one's good. And this one's good. So now what I do is I hold it up, clean the lines, make sure there's no tangles or tension knots. Then I come up here and I grab this red line, which is a steering line. And how we steer this aircraft in flight is we push on the foot bars, we push on the right. What it does, it pulls down on the trailing edge of the right-hand side of the aircraft, creating drag. And when you create drag, it makes the aircraft fly in that direction. And then the only thing you need is throttle to climb, straight and level, or descent. And then on the ground, we have ground steer, which is a steering bar handle to steer the front tire on ground steer. Then what I do is I clean the chute out a little more. I come back around, just checking everything one last time, making sure the chute is still centered on the aircraft. Okay, now that I've got the chute all laid out, inverted, checked all the chute, the lines, everything's good. Now what I do is I put the risers and the steering lines up on these hooks, and I push the aircraft forward, and we're going to stack the chute. And all we're doing is we're pulling it till the leading edge is on top of the trailing edge. And we're keeping these lines tight so they don't get caught in the propeller when I start the aircraft. Now what I do is I come over here and I tuck the leading edge under, so that way when I start the aircraft, the prop wash doesn't catch the leading edge and get the chute to misbehave. It'll stay down until I apply power and roll forward. So really simple. I just take the, basically we're making a Tootsie Roll. And we bring it over, tuck, tuck, tuck. And now we come to this side. Tuck, tuck. And that, my friends, is all there is to laying out a chute. And now I'll do one last safety check around the aircraft. Okay, on this aircraft, this is a Power Chute Airwolf 912, and this is top of the line aircraft that they make right now for powered parachute. We have a 100 horse 912 Rotax engine, 4-stroke, 4-cylinder, with dual plugs, dual carbs, and dual mags, and we have an electric boost pump. That is a carbon fiber prop with a nickel inlay leading edge. That's a warp drive. That's top of the line prop. And then I have a 15-gallon fuel tank. I have about I figure roughly a 4 gallon per hour burn rate. And so we figure with 15 gallons, we've got plenty of time. And usually after an hour, hour and a half, you want to come down, land, stretch your legs, have a drink or coffee or whatever, and then go back up. So we have plenty of fuel. And then this here is for the throttle on this side. It's a trainer, it's an SLSA, so I have dual controls. I can fly it completely from the rear seat or the front seat. Throttle on this side, ground steer on that side, and then this is the right foot bar, and then the left foot bar, and we just push on those. I have an ICOM radio. This is Class G airspace. There's no radio requirements here, or in E airspace, but we fly with radios. It's just good, safe piloting, and it's good to communicate with other pilots and aircraft taxiing on the runways and stuff. So we'd rather be super safe than take any chances. I burn non-ethanol, 91 octane. I screen it with an aviation funnel. It takes out all the impurities, all the water, and I funnel it also when I buy it from the gas station into my bigger cans, and then I rescreen it again when I put it in my aircraft. Okay, on this aircraft we have an engine information system, and it's called EIS. And on this here we have a flight screen. It has our altitude, rate of climb, a climb indicator, RPMs, cylinder head, exhaust gas temperature, oil pressure and oil temperature, because it's a 912. It's a 4-stroke, so we have an oil reservoir. And then we can go to another screen. It will tell us what our flight time is. It will tell us our total time on aircraft. And then I have one that tells me on my electric fuel gauge roughly how much fuel I've got in my fuel tank. And then on this here, because it is a SLSA and I'm a private pilot, by being a private pilot, I do night flights. And night flights with a full moon is absolutely beautiful. And I have landing lights, I have position lighting, and I have a strobe light. And in the center at the top of the aircraft, I have a chute light. So once I take off in the dark, I can check my chute to make sure it's clear of tension knots and the cells are fully inflated.